Mark Sterling spent the night in a luxury hotel room overlooking the city. Rain slid down the glass windows in slow lines, blurring the lights below. The room was warm, filled with the scent of expensive perfume and leftover champagne. It was quiet in the way only expensive places are quiet. For Mark, this night was nothing special. It was routine. He believed he had earned it. Long hours at work, pressure from investors, endless meetings. This was his reward. A little escape, a little excitement. He had done this many times before, and every time he left believing nothing would ever change. As the clock moved closer to morning, Mark dressed calmly. He adjusted his cufflinks, checked his reflection, and practiced the story he would tell when he got home. He always did. A delayed flight, a late meeting, sleeping on the office couch. He had told these lies so many times they felt real. He believed that his wife Elena would never question him. She never had. In his mind, she was predictable, quiet, and safe. And safe meant controllable. At 6:14 a.m., Mark unlocked the front door of his house. He expected warmth. He expected the smell of coffee. He expected the television murmuring morning news in the background. Most of all, he expected Elena to be there, just as she always was. Instead, the house greeted him with something else entirely. Silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the empty kind. The kind that feels wrong before you understand why. There was no coffee, no sound, no movement. The house felt hollow, like it had been drained of life. Mark called out her name once, then again, louder this time. Nothing answered him. As he walked into the kitchen, his eyes stopped on the marble island in the center of the room. There was only one thing on it, a thick manila envelope with a red legal stamp. That was the moment something inside him shifted, though he didn't yet understand what it meant. Mark had always believed Elena was simple. She managed the house. She hosted dinners. She smiled politely at company events. She never raised her voice. She never accused him. He mistook her calm for ignorance, her silence for weakness. What he never considered was that she was watching, learning, waiting. He moved through the house slowly now. The living room felt different. Paintings were missing. Shelves that once held her belongings were empty. When he reached the bedroom, his heart began to race. The bed was perfectly made, untouched. Her closet was empty. Clothes, shoes, handbags gone. Not packed in a rush. Removed with intention. Even the hangers were gone. It was as if she had erased herself. On the nightstand sat two objects. Her wedding ring and the envelope. Mark picked up the ring first. Felt lighter than he remembered. Cold. He shoved it into his pocket and opened the envelope. The first pages were divorce papers. His name printed neatly. He laughed at first, unable to accept what he was seeing. Then he turned the pages and saw the photographs. Clear, time-stamped images. Hotels, restaurants, parks. Proof of every lie he thought was hidden. The realization came slowly and then all at once. Elena knew everything. Beneath the photos was a letter from a high-end law firm. As Mark read, the room seemed to spin. A clause in the prenuptial agreement he had never bothered to read. An infidelity clause. Assets transferred. Ownership triggered. Control lost. By the time his phone rang, his hands were already shaking. The call was from his business partner. There was no sympathy in his voice, only distance. Mark was fired, effective immediately. Then came the final blow. Elena was the majority shareholder. She always had been. The money that built the company, hers. The silence that protected him for years, hers. And now, the decision to end him professionally, also hers. One by one, Mark's safety nets vanished. His credit cards stopped working. His accounts were frozen. His car wouldn't start. Even the woman he had cheated with turned away from him the moment his power disappeared. She didn't want love. She wanted security. And Mark no longer had any. Desperate and furious, Mark tried to fight back. He told himself he could destroy her the same way she had destroyed him. He sent emails. He exposed financial details. He convinced himself he was smarter. But what he didn't realize was that Elena had already moved. She had already reported everything. She had already shaped the narrative. His attempt at revenge became his confession. When the authorities arrived, there was no drama. No shouting, just handcuffs, just cold metal closing around his wrists. As he was taken away, Elena didn't watch. She didn't need to. She had already moved on. 5 years later, Mark sat in a prison cafeteria, older, thinner, quieter. The man who once believed he controlled everything was now just another inmate. He worked in the prison library, surrounded by books, the same world he once looked down on. One afternoon, he saw Elena on television. Confident, successful, leading. She spoke of growth, of cutting away what no longer served them. She never said his name. That was the true punishment. Not prison, not poverty, but being forgotten, becoming irrelevant. Mark finished his meal in silence. Outside, the world continued. Elena built cities. Lives moved forward. And Mark Sterling became nothing more than a lesson. Sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. Sometimes it's fake turf covering a collapse you don't see until it's too late. Prison time did not move the way Mark expected. Days didn't pass like pages turning. They dragged, heavy and repetitive, each one nearly identical to the last. The first few months were the hardest. He still believed something would change, that a lawyer would find a mistake, that Elena would soften, that someone would realize this was all a misunderstanding. But the silence continued. No calls, no letters, no appeals. The world outside went on without him, and slowly, painfully, Mark realized it always could have. He began replaying his life in his head. Not the big moments, but the small ones. The dinners Elena cooked that he barely tasted. The conversations he half listened to while checking his phone. The way she used to look at him when he came home late. Not angry, not accusing, just observant. He had mistaken her calm for blindness. Now he understood it had been restraint. In prison, reputation didn't come from money or titles. Came from behavior. Mark learned this quickly. The men around him didn't care who he used to be. They cared if he respected space, if he followed rules, if he stayed quiet. For the first time in his life, charm meant nothing. Power meant nothing. He had to earn basic respect by simply being decent. It was humiliating at first, then grounding, then unavoidable at a tea night. Lying on a thin mattress under harsh lights, his thoughts became louder than any prison noise. He thought about the woman he cheated with, her laugh, her compliments, how temporary it all had been. He remembered how easily she disappeared when his accounts froze. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. The same silence he had given Elena for years. Mark started working in the prison library not because he loved books, but because it was quiet. The shelves felt safer than the yard. Books didn't judge him. They didn't ask questions. Over time, though, he began to read. Slowly. First out of boredom, then out of curiosity, and finally out of need. He read about leadership, ethics, failure, psychology. Every page felt like it was describing a man he used to know. He began to recognize patterns. Men who believed rules didn't apply to them. Men who thought silence meant approval. Men who ignored warning signs until consequences arrived without mercy. The stories were different, but the ending was the same. Loss, isolation, regret. Years passed. Mark's reflection changed. The sharp confidence in his eyes softened into something duller, heavier. His hair thinned. Lines appeared on his face. He stopped dreaming about returning to his old life because that version of him no longer existed. Sometimes he wondered if it ever truly had. Occasionally, news from the outside slipped through. A guard mentioned Elena's company expanding internationally. An article appeared in a discarded newspaper praising her leadership style. Calm, strategic, fair. Words Mark once would have laughed at now sat in his chest like stones. She had built something real while he had destroyed everything temporary. Mark wondered if Elena ever felt pain, if she ever cried alone, if she ever doubted herself. The truth was, he would never know, and that uncertainty hurt more than anger ever could. One evening, a younger inmate asked Mark for advice. The question was simple. How did you end up here? Mark opened his mouth to answer and realized there was no short explanation. He didn't say cheating or divorce or bad luck. He said something else instead. I stopped respecting the people who loved me. The words surprised him, but they were true. As his sentence neared its end, fear replaced regret. The world he would return to was unfamiliar. No network, no safety net, no name that opened doors. He would be anonymous, ordinary, invisible, the same way Elena had once been invisible to him. Release day came quietly. No crowd, no celebration, just paperwork and a door opening. Mark stepped outside carrying a small bag with everything he owned. The sky looked bigger than he remembered. Freedom felt heavy, not light. He rented a small room, took a low-paying job. People spoke to him without knowing who he used to be, and for the first time that felt like mercy. He learned how to live without shortcuts, how to listen, how to wait, how to accept consequences without trying to escape them. Sometimes, late at night, he thought about knocking on Elena's door, apologizing, explaining, begging, but he never did. Some doors close not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. Mark understood that too late. He lived quietly after that. No scandals, no headlines, just days that came and went. And slowly, painfully, honestly, he learned the truth he had avoided his entire life. Cheating didn't destroy his marriage in one night. Arrogance destroyed it over years, and silence wasn't Elena's weakness. It was her strength. The night he cheated felt powerful. The morning he came home changed everything, and that was the moment he lost it all. Life after prison did not give Mark any dramatic moments. There were no big lessons delivered in one clear scene. Everything came quietly, through repetition. Waking up early in a small rented room, eating simple food, taking buses instead of driving cars, standing in lines, being told no without explanation. These were small things, but to Mark they felt enormous. Every ordinary moment reminded him how much he had lost and how little he deserved to complain at his job. No one asked about his past. They didn't care. To them, he was just another worker who showed up on time and kept his head down. At first, this anonymity felt like punishment. Later, it became a kind of relief. There was no one to impress, no image to maintain, no lies to protect. For the first time in his adult life, Mark was simply existing, not performing. Some nights, memories came back without warning. The sound of Elena's footsteps in the hallway, the way she used to fold laundry carefully, even when she was tired, how she always remembered small details about people, birthdays, preferences, worries. Mark realized those weren't habits of a weak person. They were habits of someone paying attention. He had been too distracted by himself to notice that he once passed a bookstore window and stopped walking. Inside, people stood quietly reading, flipping pages slowly. The sight pulled him back to the prison library. Without thinking, he went inside. He didn't buy anything that day. He just stood there, surrounded by books, feeling something close to peace. That space reminded him that knowledge had always been available to him. He had just chosen arrogance instead. Occasionally, he heard Elena's name in conversations he wasn't part of, at a cafe, on the radio, in a business podcast playing softly from someone's phone. Each mention felt like a distant echo. She had become something public, something respected, something untouchable, and he remained exactly where he was, unnoticed. The imbalance no longer felt unfair. It felt accurate. Mark began writing in a notebook he kept hidden in his drawer. Not letters to Elena, not apologies meant to be sent, just thoughts, honest ones, things he had never said out loud because they made him uncomfortable. He wrote about entitlement, about how easily he believed loyalty was guaranteed, about how he took silence as permission. The more he wrote, the clearer everything became. One evening, a woman at work asked him a simple question. "Are you married?" Mark paused longer than necessary. He could have said no and ended it there. Instead, he said, I didn't protect it." The woman nodded and didn't ask more. That small exchange stayed with him. Truth didn't need decoration. It didn't need excuses. As months turned into years, Mark changed in ways that weren't visible. He learned patience. He learned to listen fully instead of waiting to speak. He learned that attraction without respect fades quickly, and that love without attention starves. These lessons came too late to save his marriage, but not too late to shape the rest of his life. Sometimes he imagined Elena's mornings now. Not in detail, not with longing, but with acceptance. She probably woke up calm, in control, surrounded by people who valued her presence instead of exploiting her patience. That thought no longer hurt, felt right. Mark never tried to rebuild what he had lost. Some things are not meant to be rebuilt. They are meant to be remembered as warnings. Instead, he focused on becoming someone who would never cause that kind of damage again. In the end, his life became small, but it became honest. And that honesty carried a weight that power never had. The night he cheated had once felt thrilling. The morning after had felt shocking. But the years that followed taught him the truth. Loss doesn't arrive loudly. It settles in quietly and stays.